Hi, and welcome back to Unplanned, the show about cities and how they work. I've decided that I've got to start posting on a more regular basis and actually get some more content up there and out there. I think the world of podcasting has just grown exponentially since I started this way back in early COVID days. And it really has become truly a media source. And in fact, I get a lot of my information off of some really great podcasts and a lot of the chatter that's out there. So what are some of the things on my mind as we go forward? One is perhaps to get a different mic than what I'm dealing with right now. But that is a technical matter. That is not so much of a podcasting matter. Obviously, there's a lot of global news going on, national news, but also global news that impacts cities. That includes all the discussion around tariffs and the chaos and the confusion around that. Tariffs obviously impact cities hugely. Partly for their economic impact, but also for the goods and services moving through cities, including some of our major coastal cities where goods and services typically enter the country. Immigration is another huge one. Obviously, a lot of American cities, basically American cities in general, over the course of our history, have seen the arrival of waves and waves and waves of immigrants. Starting way back in the 17th century and moving all the way through to today. So how we treat immigrants, how we view immigrants is obviously hugely important to cities, and that is a topic that is very much on my mind. I just went through a series of books about New York, one of the world's greatest cities and certainly one of North America's greatest cities. And those include the two books by Russell Shorto that I read for my conversation with him for Unplanned, which you can see that video. Just take a look in the content for Unplanned. We just got it posted up, but it was a wonderful conversation at the Harvard Bookstore here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in Harvard Square, talking about his latest book, Taking Manhattan, the moment that the British took Manhattan Island from the Dutch in 1664. But to get up to speed on Russell and his work, I listened to in audiobooks, which is, I find, an easier way to get through a book quickly. His earlier book, The Island at the Center of the World, which really talks about the arrival of the Dutch on Manhattan Island in 1624. Both are wonderful, and he was a wonderful guest on Unplanned. We had a great time doing it in front of a live audience, and it occurs to me that we should do more conversational stuff in front of live audiences, because I think that would be great. So those are a couple of books, and then I also read Bright Lights, Big City by Jay McInerney, which is a sort of first-person telling of New York City in the 1980s. A wonderful description, and also a wonderful description of being young at that time. The sort of the character, the main lead character, is fascinating that way. And then Bonfire of the Vanities by Tom Wolfe, which is a sort of Dickensian, sprawling novel with lots of subplots that all come together rather brilliantly into this one sort of catastrophic moment that then plays out through the rest of the book, impacting all of these characters that we've met along the way. So all wonderful, a lot about New York. I think for a minute now I'm going to pause on New York stuff. What are some other things that we want to do here? I'm sitting on an interview that I did with James Miner back in December. I have all the video on my computer, but I have to get it off, get it edited, and get it up on the channel. So my apologies to James for the long delay. James was the head of Sasaki, a major international design firm here in the Boston area, and he talks a lot about that. He talks about education, particularly in the sphere of architecture and urban planning. It's very interesting. But it's just taken me forever to get that done. And we've got some other ideas cooking, but we're always interested in more. One other idea is to look at the worst intersections for bicycles in the Boston area. And that leads me to my final thought, which is the announcement by Mark Drayson, the head of the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, the Boston area's regional planning agency. Mark has announced that he is intending to retire in June. And while I'm happy for him personally, professionally, it's sad as just a news note here in the Boston area. Mark has had a long tenure at MAPC. He has led that organization very well and very ably. He's come to a point in his life and his career where he wants to do other things other than work very hard every day, which is completely understandable. But all the same, it will be sad when he steps down in mid-June. So that's just a bit of planning news locally here in Boston. That about covers it. It is my sincere intention to post more frequently in these shorter formats and to have more of a dialogue. We hope to get some of our guests back on. Jesse Kansen-Beninoff, housing impresario here in the Boston area. I'd like to get him back on, and he and I have talked about doing some more shows more frequently together. Craig Kelly is always a former city councilor here in Cambridge. He's always a potential guest, and we like having him on. And lots of other topics to cover. But for now, that's the wrap up for this week. Remember to subscribe. We like subscribers. It helps us grow the channel, and it helps us continue to have great guests on the show. And that's it for now. We'll look forward to seeing you soon.